this video, I want to talk about the period of Hungarian filmmaking, which doesn't offer anything worth mentioning, and it's a pretty large period. The first title which Wikipedia lists is from 1917, and it's probably not even a full feature film. And what I showed you last time, The Blue Idol, comes from 1931, so it's really... But after that, the Hungarian filmmaking is very close to the international market, aside that it really doesn't offer you much, because, when it comes to Hollywood, you had the 30s with Dracula and Frankenstein, that kind of stuff, the Universal horror monsters, and there were a couple of big budget stuff, war movies and that kind of things, or there was The Shrink from Another World, sci-fi stuff. Hungary practically has no sci-fi, absolutely nothing to offer in this regard. What it can is what would qualify today as soap opera. People living and rendezvousing. I'm dead serious. That's pretty much it. There is sometimes something half-watchable, attempt into comedy or noir movies, but even in 1936 there was Hortobágy. It's a region of Hungary which is mostly a protected area for wildlife. That was a pretty okay documentary. Still, if you are interested in that kind of living in middle of nowhere with early 20th century technology, with people picking mushrooms and stuff, herbs in the woods, and even doing some home hunting for rabbits or squirrels, that kind of stuff happening. That's what's there. But otherwise, it's just this upper middle class people courting other rich people. I mean, obviously the men court the women, and they are just standing around by a prop. It's really not very interesting, and there is a couple of living in rural area things. It's practically nothing to offer, but the filmmaking got more and more bloated. When the war came, if you check how many films were made in those years, the late 30s, early 40s, it's a lot. And then during the 1944, 45, it's just cut into almost nothing. It's a very drastic drop of number of movies delivered. The only interesting thing from this decade is from 1941, The Three Bells, which, if you want an English language product, there was a British sitcom, You Rang Me Lord. It's pretty much that, but more on the serious side of things. So the Three Bells is referring to the 3 bells from 3 rooms where the lords lived, and the servants are jumping on the rings, doing the housework and all that kind of. Of course, there is a romance going on between 2 of the servants, and the third just wants to be there until retirement. You know, the standard stuff. It's really nothing. But when it comes to the movies, it's either very propagandistic, or, you know, just telling you that, yeah, don't listen to the war stuff. Go and work until you are called to serve. There were more stuff listed, of course, on the Wikipedia page that collects all these films. I got a couple extra here and there, but it's really mostly from there. 1945, only 1 movie was accessible. It wasn't particularly unwatchable. Most of these are very dry, and by today's standards, look, these are even black and white movies. Why deny it? It's bad. Now, in 1951, there was a short movie, kids stuff. I'm not sure if it was even, you know, those dia films, you know, there was the slide thing that projected on the wall, static images. Maybe it was like that. The Little Rooster's Diamond Halfpenny, or something like that when I translate it. It is the beginning of the Hungarian animation industry, which got famous in the 80s, I think, but we will get to that. So while the USA were making the 50s movies, pretty much sci-fi horror, on the B-movie side and all that kind of stuff, and Japan were doing the very A-lister Godzilla. What Hungary could offer is Dollar Papa, which, if I translate it, is Father Dollar, Father Money. A rich person who emigrated from the country comes back and has a ton of money. Actually, he doesn't. And that's the core of the conflicts everywhere. He's actually a scammer. He lies for a living. And everyone believes he's rich because he came from the USA. Or there was the Umbrella of Saint Peter. It's a very well-written short story originally. They made a movie about it. It's about, there is this guy who is famously rich, but hid his stuff, you know, like Monte Cristo or something. He wasn't arrested or anything, just everybody hated him because he was a very Scrooge-like guy, and there is just, he just died, and there he has a daughter who has two men who is courting her. One she's in love with, the poor guy, and the other is the rich guy, and of course they in the end they marry the poor people, and but their life is solved, so there is no problem there. But it turns out the money was in the umbrella. They got it as a, useless gift. He hid all the money in the umbrella and they burnt it. I don't remember the circumstances this happened for, but yeah, all the money just absolutely. It is a pretty ironic, but maybe it's turns out that even if the rich guy could marry the girl, then still the money is gone. So why marry? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then they started to just looking at it, some kids movies where everywhere are adults, but the kids are the protagonists, and they are running around, and they are literally like 6 years old in the movies. They are pretty bad, and it was mostly for touristical purposes to advertise the Lake Balaton. It's a very obvious big lake in Hungary. It's like almost the only one that's you can't not see it when you look at the map. So it's really not. It then goes not too bad of territories. I mean, still 1 out of 10 movies, but they still don't get offensive. There will be a period where Hungarian movies will become racist as fuck. It's really awkward and very nationalistic. It will be mostly against gypsies and stuff. And Hungary will never really recover from that regard, although it tried. There was in the 2000s, 2000 to 2010, where it seemed that the relation between the white folks and the gypsy folks will stabilize, but it went nowhere. The fascist election where Viktor Orban got onto the throne, so to say. There is one title that's interesting to mention. If I translate it, it will be "It Doesn't Worth the Gas." It's an automobile advertisement in a 1 hour long kinda documentary format, kinda vibe film. It's a unique experience. I'm glad I found it. Of course, none of this exists in English, unfortunately. But if you are interested in the Hungarian cinema, this Kara Benzinért is a very unique film to learn about. If you are, filmmaker or that kind of stuff, it's really worth a shot. It's not even too long. Hungary never really went into this 2 hour plus movies, mostly 70-90 minutes. Nothing really into that. And that's when we get to practically the 70s, 1969, with the title Craps the God. And also The Witness, which is more famous, way more famous than Craps. And it was, the difference is that The Witness was a directly, openly political satire. Krebs disguised itself as a beauty pageant contest. The guy is organizing that, and I will make the next Hungarian Cinema video about that, making a proper review, because I love the shit out of that. And I think for this time, that's the end.